A diagnosis of osteoporosis isn't the end. It can be the beginning of a strength journey. The journey is the challenging part, as this individual had a -2.2 in the lumbar spine on a DEXA scan, and over the course of a couple of years changed that into a -1. This is an individual case study where I had a particular patient, Leanne. She came to me, she had fear about lifting her grandchildren, lifting weights, about what particular exercises to do, what foods she should and shouldn't be doing, because there is so much blown up on the internet about this is what you should do for osteoporosis, this is what you should eat, and this is what you shouldn't eat. She was all confused with the forums and the blogs. We sat down and we went through a particular routine of what I'm going to go through now is what she should have done and what she did implement for her bone health. There was a slight unknown fracture which was causing some discomfort. She wasn't aware of this. The particular tightness sensation she had was sort of being seen to by a physio, where they were just massaging and working on the joints without getting any relief. She had a fear of movement. She knew she had low bone mineral density. She knew she was relatively fragile for her age amongst her friends. She knew she was postmenopausal, but here's what happened. The low bone mineral density from her GP was just resulting in, here's some medication for you. She was fearful about what to do. This then went on to be saying, here is why you need to be cautious of exercise. You shouldn't be jumping and you shouldn't be lifting heavy weights because you can fracture or reduce your bone mineral density even further. The turning point was relative education with myself and readings, where she was able to come together, get a hold of what you need to do for your bones and how you can change this around. The scary part was a silent fracture where we didn't know this had occurred. It was because her mineral density in her back had reduced a fair bit, and she was lifting heavy frequently at her work, where she was looking after children at a daycare, and she was rounding her back, lifting. It's cute when it's a little baby that it might be 10 kilos or less, but that repetitive rounding and not caring about activating certain muscles is what we think led to the overall progressive compression fracture. It wasn't due to a fall. As if it was, the mechanism of injury may have been falling down on a bottom where there's some loading on the spine. However, this was repetitive shear stress. When bones aren't stimulated with enough stress, there's no remodeling or no stimulus for the bones, the osteoblasts, to take place and to remodel the bone. This means the bone can further degrade in certain areas and there's no adaptation being built. We can see here in September 27 of 2022, her DEXA scan showed that she had a low bone mineral density remark of femoral neck readings of -2.6 in the femoral neck. And then at the total hip, it was -1.6. And then in the lumbar spine, between lumbar level 1 to 4 was at 2.2. This is when Leanne came to me and we sat down about what to do. As we can see, 2.5 to 3 years later, of July 23 of 2025, she had the same DEXA scan done at the same place, which is SKG Radiology here in Perth. And the bone mineral density scan was taken on the same machine, but we can see a nice drastic change to her lumbar spine of -1 in the lumbar spine now, and then the femoral neck -2.2, and then the total hip at -1.3. Now these are drastic changes which are quite rare to see. Sometimes over this duration we may have had another DEXA scan done at a year's time to make sure she's on the right track. However, she wanted to wait the additional 2 years, and then we finally found out that she was on the right track. There are things you can do in between if you're a bit fear avoidant or if you're a bit apprehensive about if you are doing the right thing. Blood tests and bone biomarkers are good readings to see if you're on the right track, or REM scans, you can get them more often due to less radiation. However, bone does take around 8 to 9 months to see some changes at the minimum. The big takeaways that we implemented was the diet restriction. She was malnourishing herself. She was barely eating any meats or any protein. She was having about 45 grams of protein a day for her body weight of 68 kilos. We worked with this to increase her morning, breakfast, lunch and dinner routines, and we added a smoothie, just a nice general smoothie, not a protein shake, throughout the day to ensure she was getting up to even 70, 80 grams of proteins a day. This looked like adding eggs, meats, collagen supplements, a little bit of protein powder with some Greek yogurt, just general basics that we can change in our lifestyle that help her get these quotas. We started a supplement because she was low in vitamin D after the blood test, and this was a vitamin D K2 spray. The exercise side was the important part. We started spinal rehab exercises where it was general extension based exercises, laying down. We led that to standing where she was weight bearing. Once that sort of healed and a fracture and the general strength improved around the area, which was followed up with some additional x-rays, we then hit it harder. We did some more progressive weight training. We did some weight bearing exercises. We did step ups. We did jumps. All of these types of exercises over the course of the week. It was only about 3 to 4 sessions a week because she liked to do some swimming. So on the off days, such as Tuesday, Thursday, was her swimming days. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday was her weight bearing exercise or gym based exercise days. This complemented the picture with some nice dietary increase intake and then overall some recovery such as the stretching and foam rolling. This helps reinforce the science of bone adaptation, where we started to build and push through those barriers of not wanting to exercise or the fear avoidance. We had her doing squats, we had her doing the deadlifts, we had her doing the rows, we had her doing weight bearing exercises where we're reducing that kyphotic curvature, we're putting the spine under load through pressing underneath different types of squats. And over time, we increased the weight. We weren't building her into a bodybuilder or some type of power lifter. However, we progressively lifted the weights up, and this helped her bones adapt, muscles got stronger, protein intake increased, and overall it had a better outcome for her. Her big 5 exercises that we stuck to was farmer's carries, we had a back squat, we had a deadlift, we had a shoulder press, and then we had some skipping and jumps in between. There was additional accessory exercises for core stability, other leg exercises to make sure the program was not boring. However, over the whole span of it, we saw that there was a massive improvement in her bone density and general strength. Easier said than done. You can rebuild strength 1 rep at a time, putting the right things in place. If you haven't had a fracture, then you're in a good position to start. You can build bone, you can build muscle, you can prevent falling, you can do all the right things from a supplement, dietary and exercise part to help build the bone density a lot better. And notice we haven't even mentioned pharmaceuticals amongst this. So to go back to that point about her GP giving her the DEXA scan and a script, she didn't take any bone bisphosphonate medication, which was the impressive part behind this. A fracture doesn't have to define your future. With the right approach, you can move from fracture into fitness 1 step at a time. Subscribe for more bone health strategies and workouts, and give us a like if you enjoyed this. Thank you.